Happy Monday, class. Happy Martin Luther King Day, and I hope you all are enjoying your long weekend. So I want to post this quick video to accompany the announcement. So first things is I am going to start including a poem once a week on Monday, just for you all to enjoy, usually to commemorate either a particular day or time of year, just something that seems appropriate or seasonal. So as it's Martin Luther King Day commemoration, I wanted to post a poem by Langston Hughes, who is one of the premier poets of the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s. So go ahead and just enjoy it. If you don't want to read it, you don't have to read it. It's not required. It's not for homework, but I just wanted something to enrich your week. All right, now moving on to what is required. So this is the week we start our guided reading response session. So you are going to do 4 reading responses on 4 different short stories, 1 per week, starting this week. The purpose of the reading response unit, and let me go ahead and first flip over here. You may have read this already. I opened this last week, but the purpose of this unit is to prepare you for your first essay. You're going to be writing a literary analysis essay that will be due in March. So you need to learn how to write about literature, and you need to learn to analyze literature. That's what our reading response unit is all about. So if we read through this explanatory stuff up here, we're going to work through our reading response unit as a way of learning to read closely in order to prepare for the literary analysis essay. It'll take us about 3 to 4 weeks to complete. I'll open up each week's story on Monday mornings at 6 a.m., just like everything. And I'll open up the Module 1 literary analysis essay maybe next week is what I'm thinking. And don't forget, I really want to remind you that you have this scavenger hunt that, let's go back here, that I have the information here in the Getting Started week. So all the materials you need, or it's really the worksheet, is here, the scavenger hunt worksheet. Here's your MLA quick guide to format your scavenger hunt, your works cited paper. So don't forget that's due on Thursday. Let me go back over here. And you submit that scavenger hunt at the Getting Started tab. Let me remind you about that. So here's where you submit it. Okay. And remember, it is not being turned in worksheet format. You're actually going to turn that into a works cited page. All right. Back to reading response unit. So here's our schedule for the stories you're going to read, starting with a story called The Story of an Hour by the author Kate Chopin. It was written in the very late 19th century, essentially the turn of the 20th century. Then we're going to move on next week to A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. The third story is Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been by Joyce Carol Oates. And then finally, a Ray Bradbury story called The Veldt. So your literary analysis essay must be on one of these stories. So the purpose, again, of this reading response unit is to prepare you to write that essay. Here I have some sample reading responses. So if you want to know what am I looking for, there you go. You're going to be responding to a series of 7 questions, just like you did in that video that you did. So you've got your 7 questions that you're going to respond to. Let's go ahead and open that up. So you've got to ask yourself, what is the reading about? In a very basic way, just very simple, obvious answer. What's the plot? In other words, and you're going to be very quick and very simple. You're not going to give me a long plot blow by blow account. You're going to summarize that in a couple of sentences. Then you want to ask yourself, is there an experience of your own of which the reading has reminded you? Now, obviously, you didn't live in the late 19th century, so it's not going to be exact, but is there something in that reading that speaks to you? Remember that when you're talking about a text, the text has an author, but the text is read by an audience, interpreted by an audience, and each one of you brings your own interpretation to that text. So what is it? How does it speak to you? Then you're going to say what the most important word in the reading. You want to use a dictionary. If you want to look it up and define it, you've got to go to the Oxford English Dictionary. We have access to that through our library database. You always want to explain your choice. Be sure to always explain your choice. What's the most important statement or line in the reading? Again, use a quote and explain your choice. Why is it important? Then what word not in the reading would you say best explains the reading? In other words, what word sort of encapsulates a theme or a meaning or something about the reading? Then what's a deeper level meaning? And then finally, what universal theme? So things like death and love and revenge and good versus, or man versus the wild, things like that. So when you have gone through these 7 questions and answered them, you need to turn this into a little paper. You are not answering this as 7 bulleted questions. You're going to actually turn this into a little page and a half is roughly how long this should be. About 1.5 pages, double spaced, Times New Roman 12 font. And you're going to write it into a little paper. You'll do 4 of these, 1 for each story. All right, go ahead and get out of this. So I also have these, what I call cheat sheets, elements of literary fiction. So I'm going to click on a couple of these. So I want you to open these documents up and read through these elements of fiction and teach yourself about things like character and irony and plot. These are the terms that we use when we talk about fiction. Just like any area, there's a vocabulary that goes along with it. If you remember from your 111 class, we did the visual rhetorical analysis. You had a set of words to talk about that. Ethos, logos, pathos, things like that. For literary analysis, it's real similar, but you have some other words to learn to use. Setting and style, symbolism, theme, all right? So you want to read through that. Then I have just sort of a cheat sheet, which is a table that in a single page covers things like, oh, what is metaphor and what is simile and irony, so that you can know how to talk about the stories that you read. Foreshadowing, repetition. And again, some of this might be familiar from high school. Some of it might even be familiar from 111. All right. And here is a handout on reading critically. I gave this to my in-person class, and I want you to have it as well. It just is sort of like an encapsulation of critical reading and analytical reading. So you want to look through that, telling you what questions, sort of 12 sort of questions for any reading as you start to read, thinking about. You don't have to answer these. This is not required to turn in, but I recommend you go through and think about what's this story called? Why would it be called that? Who's the author? What do we know about that author? all of those little bits and pieces as you read. All right. So finally, here's the folder that has the first practice reading response. So this is the same exact information as in, let me go over here, that's in your announcement. Okay, so I copied it into the announcement. So you have it here and you have it there and you have it in the reading response folder. So it's a step-by-step. I have here, before you start your reading, please review those 3 handouts, the cheat sheets that I just talked about. Read through those, get familiar with them. Then you're going to review a PowerPoint that I have included on the author. Then print out your story of the hour. I really, truly believe that is important for you to print that out if you're able to. This will allow you to take notes as you read and listen. Read the story through once on your own. Follow along with the audio that I've provided, taking notes. I have a worksheet. Let's go ahead and look. So here's your PowerPoint. There's your PDF. Here's the audio. Print this worksheet off. Okay. Then work on that worksheet. It's broken into 3 sections: comprehension, thematic, and overall questions. Then you want to do your online discussion of the story using Padlet. All right. So you're going to go to Padlet.com, create an account with a name, just like with Flip. This is in lieu of doing a quiz. My in-person class does a quiz, and then we have an in-person discussion. I don't really see a point in doing a quiz for y'all, so I'm just going to do the online discussion at Padlet. We're going to try that out. This is your virtual attendance assignment. It's due Thursday. All the questions you need to know are at Padlet. And you're going to then, for the end of the week, write your reading response journal using those 7 questions that we covered to complete that journal. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let's flip in here. So here's the link to your Padlet. You want to click on that link. I'll show you. And each of your, I have 2 online sections. One is 21, one is 23 W. Each of you has your own Padlet. They look exactly the same otherwise. There are 4 discussion topic questions and an overall reaction. So you need to post at each of the discussion topics and also the overall reaction. All right. Then you're going to reply to a classmate's post under each of these 4 discussion topics. So if you look at this, it gives you very, very detailed instructions on how to do your online discussion. All right. And I have the rubric here. You're not submitting here. This is how I'm going to grade. This is your link. This is all of the information on how I will grade this. You're not going to submit anything here. I'm going to be submitting your grade using this link. Okay. And here's a printout if you want to print out the rubric. Here is what this document looks like. So I explain how you're going to get your grade here. All right. All right. And again, this is all practice. I'm going to be pretty kind in my grading. I don't want you to worry about this. I'm going to be pretty kind in my grading. For this particular, this is why I call it a practice reading response, so that you get comfortable reading through a story, doing an online discussion, and then writing your reading response journal. So this week you have your scavenger hunt, your online discussion on Story of an Hour, and your practice reading response journal for the story of an hour. This is for next week. All right. All right. Any questions, send me an email. I'm going to check back in with you all on probably on Wednesday this week and give you another kind of run through of that Padlet. Do another video on that Padlet and see how y'all do. All right.